Well, good evening, Danvers, and welcome to Jim's April 2024 show. It's April 12th to be specific. Apparently, breaking news. Yeah, that's a line I see a lot. Breaking news, somebody stubbed their toe. Breaking news! Everything is breaking news. You don't go through the day without hearing breaking news 25 times during the day on every news show, everything else, like everything's breaking news. That used to just be meant for for things that really needed to be, known. But the breaking news that will mention is apparently yesterday or the day before, O.J. Simpson had passed away and died. And it was 30 years ago, pretty much from 2024. I bet it was in 1994 that he was, the trial, and then he was declared innocent. So there's all sorts of, it's consumed the news cycle. It's a 30-year-old story, and it just keeps churning and churning and churning. But at any rate, this is where we are. So God rest his soul. And as someone I heard say, he's in God's court now, okay? He's in God's courtroom, and let God sort out this mess, okay? Because we certainly have proven we can't sort out the mess. I mean, look at the mess we're in. And we keep voting for the mess. Give me more mess. Yes, I will vote for this mess. Okay, so again, this is our April 2024 show, and I'm just going to call this, talking about, yes, vote for more chaos, more confusion, more mess. Give me more mess. The title of April 2024 show will be Elections, Issues, or is it just a popularity contest? What are we voting on? Do we even know what's going on? Of course not. Oh, man. I was in London last week and a half, so I missed a lot of stuff. And you know what? Even though I missed it, I didn't miss it because I could care less. Going on vacation is great. I'm going to do it more often now that I'm retired. I've already, they gave me a T-shirt that says, retired 2021, whatever year it was, and on the bottom it said, I worked my whole life for this T-shirt. And that's pretty much no gold watches. You get a T-shirt now. Retired. All right, but at any rate, I always start off the show with the good news, and my last show in March, I really, if you haven't seen it, you really should go back and look at it, because it's all about Eric Metaxas and a letter to the churches to, hey, wake up and smell the tyranny, people. Smell the evil, look at the evil, and confront the evil, okay? That's what we as Americans, as truth, justice, and the American way, you don't even have to be a Christian to to stand against evil. Let's get with it, folks. But at any rate, that's where we are. So I really wish you'd watch it, and just to see how, if I've said it once, I've said it 100 times. How did Germany end up thinking it was okay to kill all the Jews? Well, you know what? That's where we are right now. We have people in this country, we have congressmen, leaders, and executive members of, from president on down, thinking that, yeah, we're going to side with Hamas and the terrorists and the Palestinian side. Oh, exactly. That's terrorism. That's supporting terrorism. They rape, mutilate them, and they hide behind. And so when you're trying to kill them and they keep hiding behind men, women, and children, it's like, so Israel becomes no. Wake up and smell the tyranny. Find out what's really going on, folks. What is really going on? So I will leave it at that. But we will get into the good news. Okay, so I'm just we'll save all the drama for after the good news. But right now, I was remiss last show. I was in a hurry to go away on vacation. I had all sorts of things to do, so I missed talking about Easter Sunday or Resurrection Sunday or the Christian holiday as Jesus rose from the dead. So I'm going to spend, in a couple of minutes, we'll put a video on. It's about, I don't know, how long is it? I don't even remember. I think it's 5 minutes. actually it's 4 minutes long, okay? And it kind of goes through the whole story and reasoning and the spirituality behind Resurrection Sunday and everything that works up to it. So, but I do want to say, Happy Resurrection Sunday. It's a big, there's two big Christian holidays, holy days that we really celebrate, and that is the birth of Jesus and the death of Jesus, and that's and everything that happens in between, and His Word in the Scriptures and everything else in the Bible. So, Jesus came and died for our sins, and that's the whole story of the Bible. He, from the beginning in the Garden of Eden, humanity, Adam and Eve sinned, and what sin cost humanity and mankind from the Garden of Eden to be banished from the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And so that's why we die. And but our bodies will, our spirits will live on. So we need to just focus on how that all works. But that's all written in the Bible, and it's all, there's books and thousands of things that talk about our, our humanity, our spirituality, our emotions, our psychological makeups, and everything. And how, our morality, how do we define what's right and what's wrong? What is the reference point of what's right and what's wrong? How can you tell what's right and what's wrong? There's so many things that are so wrong with what's right and what's wrong, and how we measure it, right? So, all right, yeah, Greg, you can cue up that video. Let's just go right to the whole details of the Resurrection Sunday's 4-minute video, and then we'll.
For the last 1,600 years, Christians around the world remember the last days of Jesus' life during Holy Week. And today is Resurrection Sunday. Resurrection Sunday remembers the day Jesus was raised from the dead. After being executed as a threat to Roman and Jewish power, Jesus laid in his grave for 2 full nights. For 2 full nights, Jesus' disciples, followers, and family wept. For 2 full nights, the schemes of Rome, corrupt religion, and darkness seemed to have won. Until there was an earthquake, and an angel dressed in white appeared, rolled back the stone covering Jesus' tomb, and scared the guards away. At sunrise, a group of women approached Jesus' tomb to embalm his body. But as they approach, they see that Jesus' tomb has been opened, and inside the tomb is an angel dressed in white. He tells them, "Don't be alarmed. You are looking for Jesus the Nazarene who was crucified. He has risen. He is not here. See the place where they have laid him." The angel then tells these women to leave the cemetery and tell Jesus' disciples what they have seen. Jesus is alive. But before they could get far, Jesus appears, and they immediately bow before their king. With his grave behind him, Jesus is now the king of both life and death. And Jesus remains the only person in human history to have risen from the dead, never to die again. Later, Jesus tells his disciples that he has been given all authority in heaven and on earth, and that he is with them. He then sends them out to make new disciples and citizens of his kingdom, just before he ascends into the clouds and takes his throne at God's right hand. Holy Week doesn't simply remember the final week of Jesus' life, but the days leading to Jesus' coronation and enthronement. On Palm Sunday, Jesus rode into Jerusalem like a rival king. He challenged the power structure of the temple on Monday and invited others into his rebellion on Tuesday. On Wednesday, Jesus was anointed with perfumed oil like his forefather, King David. Like a monarch on Thursday, he announced a new covenant treaty with God. And on Friday, Jesus was killed as King of Jews in a battle with death. But Resurrection Sunday is good news because it is the day Jesus is raised from the dead and is enthroned over all other nations, powers, and rulers. Jesus is the true King of the world, life and death, just as he claimed to be. And when people came into contact with the resurrected Jesus, almost everybody responded the same way. They were all terrified. The soldiers guarding the tomb fell down as if dead. The women at the tomb cowered. Jesus needed to tell his own disciples not to be alarmed. And the religious elite didn't even believe Jesus rose from the dead, but were still scared that others believed it. And in one sense, this is the most appropriate response to a king who can wrestle death and win. But another response to Jesus' enthronement is to run and tell others that good news. So I pray that on this Easter Sunday, you will accept the good news that Jesus has risen from the dead as the world's only resurrected king and run to tell others the good news as well.
Okay, folks, and we'll continue. So, right, and so that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm not running, I'm a little old, but I am trying to tell you the good news. It's all about the good news. We all need to find this good news for ourselves. I know that, and again, what I've been talking about for the last several years on this show is you know, truth, justice, and the American way, and how the media lies to us. You can't, you know, if you're basing your whole life and your morality and what you think, say, and do on what you're hearing in the media and the culture, you really got to step away from that bubble, baby, and find out for yourself. Because I mean, they lie to us from here to eternity and back. And when you get to eternity, you'll find out what's real truth and what's right and what's really wrong. But again, when he was talking about all these things that happened during Holy Week and a lot of accounts in the Bible, they're all verified. Not only just they're in the Bible, but they're verified by supporting documents from like the Roman Empire and the Jewish Empire, or the Jewish, you know, in all the historical records. Ever since we had recorded history, there's records all the way back from, you know, BC, when, you know, from the Byzantines all the way up to, you know, today, and everything in between. So, and they have records that verify that what happened, what this biblical story of the death and resurrection is confirmed in the Roman writings of their daily newspapers and their sources that you know, to confirm what that's what happened. Jesus came, and this is what happened. There's actually a you know, colleges or the academics have a standard for testing the validity of ancient documents. And so one of there's three tests. Time is, so when the document is written, how much time was it from the actual event to the time it was written? Okay, so from the biblical is usually about almost on time. It's like within 10 to 20, 50 years that the New Testament and the Old Testament, all those things were written as it happened, okay? As it happened. And so, but people like to, you know, I've heard the comparison of like Plato and Aristotle. So they have the documents, but they weren't created. They were like before BC, 100 or 200 years, 300 years before BC, whatever time was. But the documents weren't available till like, they didn't come into play until about, you know, 10,000, the year 10,000. So it's like 9,000, 8,000 years later. So at any rate, you have to look at what the heck's really happening here. So, and then again, there's multiple sources. They only have the one source that they created from all the little bits and pieces. They didn't have the whole document. They had little bits and pieces. So they don't have a complete set for the Aristotle and all these other ancient documents. There's thousands of years, hundreds of years between them, where the biblical ones are pretty much 100 years or less. So the Bible technically and in reality has more, you know, credibility and meets the standards of the academic testing than the documents they're trying to make you believe that whatever it is are better and more accurate. They're not. So there was a book called, and I think I read some of it on this show again. It's More Than a Carpenter. It's all about I forget the author's name, and he was a confirmed atheist, and he was going out there to prove that all this Christianity stuff was bunk, and just mentally weak people. And after he got done researching it, that's where I got all this information about. He says, "Oh, the Bible is more accurate than all this other crap they're trying to tell us." Okay, so it's up to you to find out. I'm just saying, hey, I believe the good news. I hope you will believe that Jesus came as prophesied in the Bible. He died for the sin of humanity, and he's the way to heaven. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. It's the good news. It's a good story, and we'll close it up with the good news too. Okay? There's always room for good news. The bad news, we can't escape it. So, okay. So now I'm going to spend a couple of minutes here starting out the bad news. So again, like I said, my title of this show is Elections, Issues, and Popularity. We got 4 elections this year. We already had the presidential primary, and Trump won the Republican one, and Joe Biden won the Democrat one. So that's rematch. But at any rate, who's voting for what? It just makes no sense to me. We have a local election coming up too. This is Danvers, so we have an election coming up in May. So everybody's got a way to look at elections. I look at what are these politicians doing for us? Okay, so I won't even mention any names. All you got to know is there are incumbents and there are newcomers trying to get in, and you got to look at what do they stand for and what issues do they put for. Some of the incumbents that are running, they support all this DEI and critical race theory and all this other stuff that costs money. It's already being thrown out all across the board. And then we have all these new zoning, MBTA zoning bylaws that we've put in that created Danvers, the corner of Maple and Hobart Street, and it's going to be down on Elm Street there at the corner of Page Street. It's going and all the way down through town into High Street, all the way down to 128. It's all zoned for that. As I call it, the real estate mullet. Businesses on the bottom floor, top 3 or 4 floors will be apartments. Party on the top, business on the bottom. Okay, I think 4 floors are max, so 3 floors and whatever. And they're supposed to step them back. They didn't step those back on Hobart Street though. Okay, well, we'll see what, again. And then you got to look at the trash fee. Who supports the trash fee? Who doesn't? So everybody's upset about it, but are we just going to vote for the same people because we know them and we like them or whatever? The politicians will never implement term limits. So the only term limits we will ever have in reality is at the ballot box. So after they've been in there for a couple of terms, just throw the bums out. They got to go. And that's all I can tell you, because the longer they stay in, the more corrupt and arrogant they get. Okay? And but the media and the culture protects them, and they just keep getting stronger and stronger, and the people get weaker and weaker. Okay. So again, I've got I got about 34 minutes of video that'll be coming up shortly. And, the first one here, we're going to talk about California. For decades, since the 50s and 60s, whatever happens in California starts the trend, and it kind of goes across the country, and everybody would, from hula hoops and skateboards and, Beach Boy music and Surfing USA and all this. All that just starts in California and comes this way, and everybody, yeah. Okay, but now we got, you look at California now, they got rolling brown and blackouts thanks to, the green initiatives that are never going to fly, that are economically and physically impossible to work. at this time. Eventually it will. We'll be living in the George Jetson world, but for now, no. It needs a natural progression. You can't force it. So let's just we'll take a look at what's happening in California. And I got a 5-minute video. Go ahead, let it rip.
Conventional wisdom has long held that as goes California, so goes the nation. Once, this was a glowing compliment. Now, it's a cautionary tale. If America goes California, it's in big trouble. This is a strange thing to say because California is as close to paradise as you can get to on this earth. Its moderate, temperate climate is almost unrivaled. It's home to 2 of the world's best natural harbors. If outdoor recreation is your thing, you can ski or surf, scuba dive or sail, hike in the Redwoods or climb Half Dome, all within a couple hours drive. Just about the only thing wrong with California, from a natural point of view, are the earthquakes. But those are infrequent, and their bad effects can be mitigated by sound building practices. The other disasters you hear about in the news, droughts and fires mostly, are natural to be sure, but also manageable by human ingenuity. Irrigation, water storage, forest management, and the like, all of which activists have not merely been neglecting, but actively opposing. And there you have, in a nutshell, the triumph and tragedy of California. The greatest spot on Earth for human habitation, a veritable Garden of Eden, is in danger of becoming a garbage dump, thanks to Californians. The decline did not happen overnight. For a century or more, those who settled there, not just from other parts of America, but from all over the world, built the state into an economic, cultural, and technological powerhouse and middle-class paradise. But for the last generation, they've been busily screwing it up. Given the state's enormous natural advantages, combined with the layers of sophisticated infrastructure and institutions built up over 6 generations, this was no easy task. But Californians, being a resourceful people, have managed. The richest state in the Union now has the most poverty. The former middle-class paradise now suffers from stratospheric housing costs and overall cost of living. The place where car culture was invented has the country's highest gas prices by a lot. Crime is out of control. Huge sections of San Francisco and Los Angeles are virtual no-go zones. Open-air drug markets abound. Authorities do nothing. Or, if the police do make arrests, the prosecutors simply let everyone go. Stores are closing all over, citing rampant theft. The culture is suffocating. Carry the wrong type of shopping bag, drink through the wrong kind of straw, or call someone the wrong pronoun and expect to be ostracized or worse. The public schools, lavishly funded, are abysmal. And of course, the taxes, especially sales and income, are among the highest in the nation. California has come a long way, and not a good way, from the paradise the Beach Boys sang about in the 1960s, or even the Baywatch image of the 1990s. How did it happen? Bad policy. Some of it active, some passive, all of it deliberate. The active includes draconian zoning, one-sided labor laws, and environmental regulations that make it extremely difficult to build new homes or new businesses. The passive includes, above all, ignoring immigration laws. California is a sanctuary state. The passive and active often combine. California politicians and businesses have actually encouraged illegal immigration for a generation. Politicians for the votes, businesses to keep wages down. If it weren't for the weather, the only thing politicians can't screw up, the state today would have little to recommend it. What is to be done? It's tempting to do nothing. Just let it go. If this is what those left coast loonies want, let them have it. And yet, California is still a part of America, part of our country and our civilization. It was a huge asset to the nation and could be again if, and it's a big if, sane leadership were once again to take charge. What would that require? Simple. California voters would need to vote out the frauds and posers who are currently running their lives and ruining their state. To do that, they'd need to rethink some of their most cherished opinions. Simple, but not easy. There are signs of change, though. In early 2022, voters in ultra-left San Francisco recalled, by overwhelming margins, 3 ultra-left members of their school board. Let-em-go DAs in the North and South have faced serious recall attempts, some with establishment and Hollywood money behind them. These are positive signs. It will take a lot more. But change could happen. And if it does, then California could be the Golden State once again, a model for the nation. I was born, raised, and educated there. If I lived there now, I might be cautiously optimistic. But I'd also be browsing real estate ads in Texas, Florida, and Tennessee. I'm Michael Anton, lecturer in politics at Hillsdale College's Washington, D.C. campus, and author of The Stakes, America at the Point of No Return, for Prager University.
All right,
Thank you
welcome
for
back.
watching this video.
Again, you can't make this stuff up. And it all kind of ties together what I'm talking about. The culture, the media, they're all lying to you. You can listen to what this guy just said about all the things that California, it was the best state in the world. They got everything. And within one generation, the woke, DEI, CRT, and all this other crap that they're throwing on us have brutalized it. It's down to nothing. Do you even know that Northern California is trying to break away from Southern California because of all their stupid, their flagrant abuse? They don't even follow the laws. They sanctuary city. Their crime's out of control. They're spending money like drunken sailors. They're in so much debt. Spending all the schools are, and the kids are losing, and things are happening to try to stop it. Are you hearing about any of this? Do you even understand what's going on? No, Northern California wants to just say, you guys stay down there, we're done. In fact, if you look at the, what do you call it, those political maps, the red and blue, right? The red states, the blue states. Well, most of the country is red. The only place that's blue are all these big cities. Okay, I just went to London. I didn't know that there was 9 million people living in London. I told the taxi driver, I said, you can take Boston and tuck it in the corner of London. You'd never see it because London is so big. It's huge, 9 million people. It's like 60 by 60 miles. Okay, but at any rate, even New York, New York City is New York City, right? They're screaming and crying because of the crime, because of all the illegal aliens and the sanctuary cities. When you look at the map. All those people live in those cities, but northern New York is all rural and open. It's all red because they don't put up with this stupidity. No one believes in this crap except for the people who live in the city. I don't know what it is. It's like a social contagion. I mean, mental. I don't know. It's just sad what's happening, and I just can't. Right before our eyes. Again, like I said, we have to find out what we know. Why do we know what we know, and why do we believe what we believe, and when are we going to take action? We got local elections coming up. Okay, so are we going to vote like California and say, yes, give me more debt, give me more sanctuary cities and illegal aliens, and let me take more of my tax money to pay for all this stupidity and crime, and the police, the police are all quitting. They're all leaving. They're not getting any support from these DEI, and in fact, DEI is making everything worse. But don't forget, the media hasn't told you, but corporate America has had it up to here with DEI. This ain't bye, and we need to do the same thing in our town, in this state, and get rid of all this DEI stuff. It's causing more harm than good. It's causing more harm than good. And I'm sorry if I get a little emotional, but I have to listen to all this stupidity 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I really didn't miss it when I was in England. Actually, some of their news shows were so enlightening, it was pathetic. It kind of highlighted the fact that in America, he with the biggest mouth wins. Blah, 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 blah. We cut people off. We don't even let people talk. You don't even listen to the other side of the story. Over there, they said, hey, don't interrupt me. I'm talking. And the host will say, don't, you wait your turn. Let this guy finish. But wait till you see when we get to the next clip, you'll see why this is what's wrong with America. Our news people aren't news people. You can't watch this interview that we're going to watch right now. Yeah, cue it up. We'll get ready to go. I'm going over time, but we got to watch this stuff and see why our system is wrong, and it couldn't get any worse wrong. couldn't get it any worse wrong.
Federal government was seeking them and then had given you a subpoena to return them.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's
you
the
mind?
answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple to, you're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's your man Wise, back at it again. Today, I'm checking out a video that I ran across on CNN. Woo. This is definitely a smackdown of epic proportion. Representative Elise Defiant. This to me seems like this is a vice president tryout. It's what it seems like. She really puts on a masterclass, a showcase for lack of better words. Wow. This is a masterclass of how to deal with the mainstream media, quote unquote journalists, if you want to call this type of interviewing journalism. They ask a question, never let you get a full answer out, and they're always, interjecting, and they want to move you on without allowing you to get your full thought across. Since when did that become journalism? Somebody tell me that. Somebody drop me down a comment in the comment section and let me know, when did that become journalism? It's flat out ridiculous, to be honest with you, man. Please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Drop me a comment down below. I appreciate all the love and support. Ask Wise Today is my AskWiseToday@gmail.com. That's the best way to get a hold of me if you need to. And let's get into the video, man. Give me 1 second. Let me slide it in here. All right.
If you post anything on social media for a company, the legal team usually asks the same set of questions.
Nope, that's not where. Okay, this is where I want to be. All right, let's go.
New York Republican Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, the House Republican Conference Chair and the highest ranking woman in House leadership. I should note, Congresswoman, thanks for being here on this busy day. I'm just curious what it says to you about the U.S. that the Supreme Court is even hearing an argument like this about a former president and whether or not he violated the insurrectionist clause.
Well, it shows that the left and the Democrat Party in Joe Biden's campaign, they know they're going to lose at the ballot box, which is why you're seeing lawfare, you're seeing witch hunt after witch hunt, court case after court case, going after Joe Biden's top political opponent, which is Donald Trump. And today was a very bad day for Joe Biden. It was a very bad day in court for the left. It was a very bad day for the Colorado bogus court case. It was a very good day for President Trump, and it was a good day for the Constitution and the American people. The American people are going to make this decision in November, not radical bureaucrats from the state of Colorado, not radical judges or far-left prosecutors.
But even though it's Republican and independent voters who brought this lawsuit in Colorado, I mean, I think that's an important part of this as well.
This is a witch hunt against President Trump, and it is not a coincidence that it is while President Trump is skyrocketing in the polls. Meanwhile, we saw a disastrous day for Joe Biden. Joe Biden started this week plummeting in the polls, the weakest polling for a modern-day president, an incumbent president, and yet you saw a feeble mental acuity lacking in the President of the United States just today. So this is a horrible day. It's a disastrous day for Joe Biden. It's a winning day for Donald Trump. And the Supreme Court case is likely to have multiple liberal justices that side with the conservative justices in this case, siding for the Constitution.
So you think that the court here is going to rule and overturn the Supreme Court in Colorado's decision?
Absolutely. And you heard questions, whether it was from Justice Elena Kagan, you heard multiple questions from the liberal justices who are likely, I believe this could be a 9-0, an 8-1, or a 7-2 case.
So the next thing that the Supreme Court could potentially take up is the question of Donald Trump's argument, his assertion of presidential immunity. If you trust the Supreme Court's decision on the 14th Amendment, will you accept what they decide on presidential immunity as well?
Well, certainly I will have something to say when the court makes that decision, but I already have put out a public statement. Of course, the president has presidential immunity. You can't handcuff a sitting president of the United States for future presidents to go after them. It would not allow them to do their job in their official capacity. So that was a wrong-headed decision. I expect the Supreme Court will overturn that as well.
The appeals court decision.
Yes.
Does that extend to President Biden? Do you think that he can do whatever and not get prosecuted as well?
Well, that's what the Trump campaign put out. They said this is a very slippery slope because it means that if you're of an opposing party, that you could go after your predecessor based upon policy disagreements or official acts. So that's why this is so egregious. And the reality is, Caitlin, the issues that the American people are concerned about, they're concerned about the border, they're concerned about about the inflation crisis. They're concerned about the lack of leadership from the sitting president of the United States, Joe Biden. That's why they're going to make the decision to vote for President Trump at the polls. And that's why you're seeing, despite lawsuit after lawsuit, President Trump's numbers continue to go up, because this is not a fair justice system right now. You see the justice system being weaponized against Joe Biden's top political opponent, and that's Donald Trump.
I think the
Lily, before she ask her next question, Elise Stefanik is putting on a masterclass right now. For one, I love her well thought out, obviously well planned responses, and she's 100% right. We don't want to live in a banana republic where the incumbent president goes after the past or previous presidents because of a disagreement or, differences in values when it comes to policies and things of that nature that was implemented. We don't want to live in a society like that. It's something that we've been fortunate enough to not have to deal with, and we don't want to start that now. But it seems like this particular administration, this is the direction that they would like to go. And it's really just a way for them to be able to control and maintain power, here in the States. And I'm glad that people like, Representative Elise Stefanik is stepping up and then speaking her mind and standing up, for not only for Donald Trump, but really for the Constitution and the American, our American way of operating, when someone is a standing president, or just for someone that holds any office, any public office. We need that.
Scathing report, though, that came out today that you referenced on President Biden's handling of documents would suggest that it's not weaponized, because it was quite brutal in its assessment. But if he had been charged,
prosecution,
if he had been charged, would you make the argument that he shouldn't have been charged because he has presidential immunity?
First of all, if you look at what the special counsel said, it was a willfully not abiding by rules when it comes to classified information, willfully breaking the law. And the only reason they're not pursuing prosecution is because of the lack of mental acuity of the President of the United States. And
I did see that. I read that document, and it definitely said that they're not going to prosecute because they did not think that they could win the case because of President Biden's mental state. I'm just saying, it's not out of her mouth. This is from the special prosecutor. This is what they said, and that's the reason why they're not going forward with those charges.
This disastrous press conference.
They cooperated.
No,
so
no,
do you agree
it's specifically
because
because of the mental acuity that was pointed out in the document. That's why you saw a panicked White House forced out a doddering, unfit President of the United States for a disastrous press conference to trying to clean it up, and it only did more damage. The reality, Caitlin, is Donald Trump is going to win this November, and Democrats are spiraling out of control because they see that Joe Biden continues to plummet. His polls are going to go down much further tomorrow based upon that horrific press conference today. And it's selective prosecution. Mm-hmm. The fact that it's not even a slap on the wrist when the prosecutor himself, the special counsel himself,
but
it is not a slap on the wrist when they
that if Donald
say
Trump,
we're not pursuing that prosecution.
But they talked, a big part of this is that President Biden went and sat down with them for 2 days, over the course of 2 days. Obviously, that's the interview that you're talking about, where they talked about his age. Donald Trump hasn't cooperated. Don't you just think if he had cooperated, he could be in the same situation?
This is at the behest of Joe Biden.
But if he had cooperated, don't you think he could be in the same situation?
First of all, there's a difference.
Since when does cooperating with law enforcement or, with the court system, keep you from getting some charges? Typically, they say that if you cooperate, your charges will be lesser. And maybe, you could get, some form of, amnesty if the crime isn't as bad and it wasn't you that actually committed the crime. But they do say normally, you and I, regular citizens, you go out and you commit a crime of some sort and you cooperate and typically, maybe plead guilt or something along those lines, and you don't, run up the check on the, judicial system as far as forcing them to take this thing to trial and have a jury and so forth and so on. Typically, they will give you a linear sentence if you, if you plead guilty and cooperate. But cooperating doesn't absolve you from the crime you actually committed. at least as far as I know, and everybody that I know that have gone through some form of legal, legal situation, that's been the case. I'm just saying.
Biden?
President Trump has, according to the Presidential Records Act, he has declassification authorities. Joe Biden does not have that when he was Vice President of the United States.
Nope.
Joe Biden also had classified documents when he was a sitting senator. That is not covered by the Presidential Records Act. So to say...
I've read the Presidential Records Act. It also doesn't give Trump the authority to just take documents and keep them in a ball.
This was a raid on Mar-a-Lago, Caitlin, versus working with Joe Biden and saying he willfully broke the law but refusing to prosecute.
But
It
that's
is
my
selective
point.
prosecution.
That's
It is
my point,
selective
because
prosecution.
Trump did not hand over the documents for more than a year. Jim Trusty could tell you
from
that.
the
He was
DOJ,
on that
from Joe
tape.
Biden's DOJ, ordered by Merrick Garland not to prosecute against Joe Biden, even though it specifically found that he willfully broke the law.
It was an
And on
independent
top of that,
special
the reason why they're not prosecuting is because they say he's mentally unfit to put in front to pursue that. That is unheard of, and it is selective prosecution, and it's why people inherently know across this country if your last name happens to be Biden or Clinton, you get to live by a different set of rules than everyday average Americans.
I think
Bar. Whoa. Shots fired.
Hunter Biden would disagree with that, and I will note Robert
Hunter
Mueller
Biden got
is
a sweetheart deal. Let's talk about
He's
that.
been indicted
Let's talk
by the
more about the corruption of the Biden
Hunter
family.
Biden was indicted, and he's got a special counsel. This was a special counsel
And then
who
got
made
a
this
sweetheart
decision.
deal from Joe Biden's DOJ.
I want to talk about you because I think, in a lot of your
I love how she, all right, I'm going to say, she interrupted her because she was about to go down a path that they do not want regular Americans to know or hear. Whoa, when it comes to Hunter Biden.
public appearances and your public comments and the resolutions that Republicans are introducing on Capitol Hill that you're a part of, people want to know if you're auditioning to be Donald Trump's vice president. Have you handed over any documents or been a part of any vetting process with the Trump team yet regarding that?
I'm proud to be one of the top surrogates for President Trump. I voted for President Trump in 2016. I was proud to work with him. I've worked with him on his impeachment defense team when the first witch hunt started against him, perpetrated by the Democrats and Adam Schiff. And I'm proud to be a top surrogate. I would proud to serve in a future Trump administration, but we have a lot to do. I have a lot of responsibility as the House Republican Conference Chair, and most importantly, as the representative for New York's 21st Congressional District, giving them a seat at the highest level. And we're focused on the issues that matter to the American people. The border crisis, which is raging across our country. House Republicans passed a border security bill. Joe Biden has failed. In fact, he has caused this border crisis.
Well, also, I mean, the Republicans in the Senate.
We passed a border bill.
Right,
We passed
one that
a
was
border
never going
bill.
to pass a
We passed a border
Democratic-led
bill, and you and I
Senate,
both
and
know
that the
how
president
difficult
was
it
not
has
going
been
to pass.
historically for a border bill
Yes,
to
we just
come
saw what
together,
happened
and we
with
got it done.
Republicans
But we
on
got it done.
Capitol
House
Hill.
Republicans
But
passed a border bill that Joe Biden opposed.
I want to talk about the vice
Biden border
president.
crisis.
So a bill gets passed. I guess it didn't make it through the Senate, but a bill did make it through the House. I'm just saying.
This is because
Yeah,
of
it
Joe
was
Biden's
HR2,
executive
because-
action. HR2
But he is a
passed,
Democratic president.
and Joe Biden opposed that.
Right, because it was Trump-era
The
immigration
reason why he
policies.
opposed
But
it.
So it was a good idea, but he wouldn't pass it because it was a Trump era policy. I thought this was about America. Somebody dropped me a comment down. Isn't the president supposed to implement policies and pass policies that support and help all Americans, regardless of a good, and I will say this, a good idea is a good idea, regardless of where it comes from. Can we get our politicians to start practicing that? Can we? A good idea is a good idea, regardless of where it comes from. Come on, man. It's ridiculous.
It's because he wants a wide open border, which is what his executive actions cause.
Well, he said he was
That
willing
is why-
to shut the border down, but
And he has the
I wanna
executive
talk about the
authority to
vice
do so.
president
He has
talk.
the executive
You're
authority
getting off
to do so.
topic.
No, I'm not.
I'd like to return
I'm not
to my
allowing you to
question
just say
about the
something
vice
that's
president.
factually not true. He has the executive authority right now to end catch and release. He has the executive authority
Absolutely.
right now
And
to
Congress
close the
has
border.
the ability to pass legislation.
And we did. And
He has the executive order, the ability to go and put troops right there on the border and shut it down. He could do it right now. And he could do it without having, any need of Congress or any congressional support, from the House or from the Senate. He could do it right now. He could send National Guard. He could send, the Army, soldiers down to the border and shut it down all the way across the border from Texas all the way to daggone California. He has the ability to do it. He won't. He refuses to. And then he's interfering in, he's gotten in the way of what Governor Abbott is doing down there in Texas. Come on now.
Let's talk about the vice presidency, because you just said that you would be willing to serve in a Trump administration. Had you been vice president on January 6, 2021, what would you have done?
I stood up for the Constitution. I believe it was
what would you have done if you were vice president?
I would not have done what Mike Pence did. I don't think that was the right approach. I specifically stand by what I said on the House floor, and I stand by my statement, which was there was unconstitutional overreach. There was unconstitutional overreach in states like Pennsylvania. And I think it's very important that we continue to stand up for the Constitution and have legal and secure elections, which we did not have in 2020. And the tens of millions of Americans agree with me, Caitlin.
Well, I would say the Supreme Court in the state of Pennsylvania said that Republican
Democrats want to get rid of the Constitution, just so you guys know.
Passed.
A lot of them do, not all, but a good amount of them would prefer to burn the document up and start over. Lord help us if that was to ever happen.
Changes to their law was constitutional. But it's notable to hear you say, given you're in the running to be the vice president, that you would have rejected those votes. Come this election, when Vice President Harris is in that position, would you be okay if she rejected the votes if Donald Trump wins?
Listen, we need to make sure the election is constitutional and legal. We're talking about Democrats. Legal. It was not, Caitlin. It was unconstitutional when there was circumventing state legislatures unilaterally changing election law. I stand by my statement on the House floor. And again, tens of millions of Americans agree with that statement and have questions about the validity and legality
are so in doubt about the election.
No, because the American people have rightful questions on the constitutionality.
Because Republicans are
and let me say this for you. When it comes to this election, we are seeing the Democrats trying to remove President Trump from the ballot. That is not constitutional. That is not a legal and safe, secure election. That's literally what's being discussed at the Supreme Court today, because radical leftists can't stand the fact that Donald Trump continues to skyrocket in the polls and Joe Biden continues to plummet. And when you get outside of CNN, if you get outside of CNN and talk to hardworking American people, like in my district, like across this country, they want to see new leadership in President Trump, and that's why he's going to win.
You deleted a statement that was on your website recently calling January 6th a tragic day. Why was it deleted, though?
I have all my public statements from the current Congress. You can access all of my previous public statements.
But why was it deleted from your website?
I only have the press releases from this current Congress. All of those statements are available since I was elected on multiple social media accounts, and you can access it there. Just
so
like
it wasn't
everyone
a retraction of what you said?
No, certainly not. I have press releases for this current Congress, and the reality is you as a journalist can go through all of my official social media accounts and find all of my previous statements.
The last thing I have to ask you about is you've referred to the January 6th defendants as hostages. As someone who was in Israel for several weeks after October 7th and met with families of real hostages, don't you find that offensive?
I've given those family members of hostages in Israel, we've hosted them among House Republicans, and we continue to stand up to make sure Israel has the right to defend itself. And Caitlin, you should be condemning the fact that the President of the United States called into question Israel at his press conference today. Meanwhile, he misunderstood and confused the President of Egypt with the President of Mexico. But I will continue to stand up for Israel's right to defend itself, and yet you have a President of the United States who issued a veto threat. I stand by my statement there, and what people are seeing is an unequal Department of Justice, where on one hand you have BLM violent rioters who are not prosecuted.
You're going off
who
topic.
are not prosecuted. You have BLM violent rioters who are not being prosecuted by the DOJ, and you have nonviolent individuals who were in the Capitol on January 6th but did not commit violent acts who are being prosecuted by the DOJ, being held. That is inherently un-American.
You draw the distinction in the criminal defendants and the people who were raped and kidnapped into Gaza.
I draw a distinction by the DOJ, the fact that they refuse to prosecute violent rioters during BLM, and yet they have an unequal set of rules and go after nonviolent individuals on January 6th. CNN continues to struggle because you continue to fail to understand the American people's frustration with this two-tiered set of justice in this country.
I don't think that has to do with calling the criminal defense.
It has to do with a lot more than that, but that's one aspect of it.
Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, thanks for your time tonight.
Caitlin, thank you so much.
Wow.
Welcome back again, folks.
That was a masterclass, to say the least.
It's all I can tell you is that this is a prime example. You know, this is casebook, textbook of how the media works. This is why we need rhinos, okay? Because when you have a real conservative, you see what happens. That, CNN Caitlin, right? She's like a pit bull. She wouldn't let her finish her sentences. She ripped her apart. If I was to, this is the boilerplate. When any media narrative person is interviewing a conservative Republican or Trump, they are very combative, argumentative, condescending. They're abusive, they're interruptive, they're bombastic, they create a bloodbath. They just can't help themselves. When someone starts talking, that's why we need people like Liz Cheney and the other guy who was on the J6 committee, because when you have a rhino Republican being interviewed by Aaron, or no, not by Caitlin, or the liberal media, then they agree with the liberal media. That's what's wrong, you see? They're protecting the lies and the deep state and all this crap that's going on. Y'all gonna have to wake up and smell the tyranny. We gotta get rid of the rhinos. We gotta get rid of the socialists and the people that are ruining this country and don't even understand the Constitution. I get all wound up about this because, like I said in my last show, it's just like what happened in Germany. You know, people tolerated all this evil, all this stupidity. You know, I've been told by the Republicans all these years, I've been a Republican for 30 years or whatever it is, and they said, just vote for the least of the two evils. You know, that's how we ended up with all these rhinos. We vote for the least of the two evils. Now all we got is evil. They're telling us of biblical proportions. They're trying to tell us what's good is evil, what's evil is good. And that's not the way it's supposed to go down, but that's it's prophesied in the Bible. That's what's going to happen. So we now, this is like a trial run for the end times. Well, this is what's happening. So all I can say is we all need to watch out what's happening, okay? And pay more attention. When you listen to what she's talking about, like the J6 committee, right? Again, it was a violation of all the rules because Nancy Pelosi set up the committee, and the Republicans are supposed to pick the two Republicans that are on the committee. They picked two. Nancy Pelosi said, no, we can't have those two because those are real Republicans. They have brains and they're going to rip us apart and they're going to expose the lie. So they had to get Liz Cheney and some other moron, I forget his name, it begins with a Z. Those were the two rhino token Republicans that just, oh yes, evil. They're Trump haters, and they just went with the lie. Again, the J6 report on the J6 committee has come out. You won't hear, it's all crickets, you don't hear. They all lied. They hid information. They violated every rule in the book. We could... It is just so pathetic, it's pathetic. You know, the truth is like it's like one of those pitches hidden in a pitcher. You know what I mean? See, this is why conspiratorial theorists, that's what they call us. People who can see the truth are called conspiratorial theorists because, like I said, how many times I got to tell you, we joked about Jeffrey Epstein last century in the 1990s. We all knew that Clinton and all those cronies were all taking the Lolita Express down to the sex island. We knew that in the 90s. Wake up and smell the tyranny. All of a sudden, it's just brand new news now, and Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, Lord have mercy. And it's just one thing after that. So, truth is like the picture hidden in the picture. You know, you get a picture, and then within the picture, there's other little things that, like, part of the tree is actually somebody, you know, sitting there holding a balloon, or built into the shutters on the house, there's a, you know, like a little boat or something. And so when you look at it, you don't see it, but if you look, oh, there it is. And then once you see it, you can't unsee it. You know what I'm saying? You can't. So when you look at that picture, you go, oh yeah, there's the guy holding the balloon, there's the little boat, and there's that, there's the snake, there's the cat. They're all hidden in there, but once you, like, where's Waldo? Once you find Waldo, you know where he is. But you got to look. You have to take the time to look. You're not looking. You're going to believe this stupidity that these people are telling you? 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, CNN Caitlin and all her cronies, all they do, their boilerplate, their template, This is how the media works. They take someone, a conservative Trump supporter like Elise Stefanik, and she interrupted her. She was abusive, condescending. She just wouldn't let her answer the question. She wouldn't let her talk, and just beat her, and just cut her off, and was very rude. She was rude. But yet, when you look at, when they interview Biden, or Schumer, or Hillary Clinton, or pick a socialist liberal, any socialist liberal, and it's like, oh, yeah, how was did you enjoy that trip? Oh, you do such a good job. It's so nice. And it's like a love fest, for crying out loud. But when the truth starts to come out, they're out there creating a bloodbath, right? Like the bloodbath. They lied about the bloodbath. If we only knew half the truth of what's going on here, people, you can't, again, we have to stop voting. This is what I'm talking about. We vote for this. And all these people that are in office are just towing the lie. They're just supporting the lie, supporting the narrative, and just going along to get along. And like I said, they're running the government like the mafia. They have something on someone. If you don't vote for this way, then we're going to expose this and whatever. That's just the way it goes. Everybody's been honeypotted. They get something on everyone, and then they can get them to do whatever they want. And that's just the way it's going down. And the only way to stop it is at the ballot box, and we have to do it. You have to do it. So when you go to vote, how can you make a good decision when you don't even have the true information? You don't even know what's going on. Oh, he's such a nice, I'm going to vote for this one because I like her, I like him. Oh, they do such a good job. What do they do? You could watch the man on the streets. They have him on all the time. They don't know what the heck's going on. Of course, there's people on my side that don't even know what the heck is going on either, but at least they can know that this is right and this is wrong, and we got to go this way and not that way. But you can't keep going down the wrong road. It's just not going to work. All right, I'm going to have to tone it down. So we had a vote 3 more times this year. And are you going to vote because he's a nice guy, because you know him, because you like him? Or are you going to look at the issues and go, he supports all the things that aren't good. He's supporting the things that increases my taxes and ruining the economy and creating and making Danvers not Danvers anymore. Danvers ain't Danvers anymore. When I grew up, yeah, I lived here in Danvers my whole life. Danvers ain't Danvers. Danvers used to be a little rural town. Now it's a wannabe city with all the problems that come with it. Sorry, but I'm retired. I'm done now. It's all up to you guys. Wake up and smell the tyranny or not. Yeah, cue up. We're gonna have to go to the good news. We gotta go. If you can get that picture, I got one picture, and we're gonna go to that. Let's end on a good news note. Let's end on, what's Jesus? What's the final plan for Jesus? What's he want us to do? It's that one picture. Greg, do you have that? And there it is right there. So this is the picture. It's a famous picture. It's Jesus knocking at the door. And the thing that they talk about this picture is that if you look at the door closely, there's no handle on the door. He's on the outside. So the only way to get in, he's knocking, is that you have to open up the door from the inside. And this all stems, this picture apparently, as the story goes, was written in support of the book of Revelations, chapter 3, verse 20 through 22. So I'm going to read the verse, just keep that up there. And so here's Revelation chapter 3, verses 20 to 22. Jesus said, "Here I am. I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with that person, and they with me. To the one who is victorious, I will give the right to sit with me on my Father's throne, just as I was victorious and sat down with my Father on his throne. Whoever has ears, let them hear what the Spirit says to the churches." So this is what I'm talking about. Jesus He's waiting. We all need to repent. And he's looking for us. He's begging us, please come to me. I'll give you the rest and the love and the comfort you need. Come to me. And he's knocking on the door of your heart, and that's what he's looking for. He's looking for you to say, yes, Jesus, what am I supposed to do? Help me, help me. And all his help is going to come in his word in the Bible. And so if you have ears, listen. Go to the church. You know, I heard something pretty good the other day. Someone posted it on Facebook, and it said, you know, listening to people talk about God on TV and stuff is like watching, you know, the fireplace. It's burning on TV, but you don't feel the heat and the warmth and the feelings and what's the emotion of the heat. So you got to go to church to feel all that love and God and calmness and peace and the love that God has for all of us. So try it. Try to find a church where you fit in. And God have mercy on us all. God loves you. He wants you to find him. Read his Bible, read his word, and keep looking. See you next month. Love you. Gotta go. Bye.